NASA astronaut gets chilling information about Earth, finally reveals the information. NASA astronaut Gordon Cooper kept some secrets for more than 40 years before telling anyone. He didn't even tell NASA about what he found until recently. He quietly worked to figure out what he found, but with time running out, he shared his secret with a friend. Now, we finally know the surprising mystery that Cooper saw when he looked back at Earth from space. Leroy Gordon Gordo Cooper Jr., known as Gordon Cooper, was an American pilot and engineer. He was one of the first astronauts in the United States' first manned space program, Project Mercury. Cooper flew the longest Mercury mission in 1963. He was the first American to sleep in space during that mission and the last American to go alone on a space mission. In 1965, Cooper was the command pilot of Gemini 5. The space race between the United States and the Soviet Union began in the 1950s. By the end of the decade, the Soviet Union was ahead because of successful missions like launching Sputnik. In 1958, the United States created NASA. With the Soviet Union moving fast, NASA needed to respond quickly with successful space missions, especially after Soviet cosmonaut Yuri Gagarin became the first person in space in 1961. This was a time of competition between the two nations. After many successful missions by NASA, astronaut Gordon Cooper had a crucial mission. Cooper went to space on May 15, 1963, on the Mercury Atlas 9 spacecraft, the last Mercury mission. He circled the Earth 22 times, spending more time in space than the previous 5 Mercury astronauts combined, 34 hours, 19 minutes, and 49 seconds. He traveled 546,167 miles at 17,547 miles per hour, experiencing a maximum of 7.6 grams force. Cooper reached an altitude of 165.9 miles at the highest point. He was the first American astronaut to sleep not only in orbit but also on the launch pad during the countdown. Near the end of the Faith 7 flight, there were big problems that could have ended the mission. During the 19th orbit, the capsule lost power. And our oxide levels started going up, and it got very hot inside, over 100 degrees Fahrenheit. Cooper used his knowledge of stars to figure out how to bring the capsule back to Earth. He took control manually and figured out the right angle to come back into the atmosphere. He had to be very precise because if the angle was too steep, the forces would be too strong, and if it was too shallow, the capsule might bounce back into space. Cooper drew lines on the window to help him know which way was up before he fired the rockets to come back down. His calmness and skill made space experts think differently about how to design future missions. Even after a successful trip, Cooper still had questions in his mind. While he was in space, he found some things he didn't talk about for 40 years. Cooper decided to do his own investigation. He looked into the things he saw while he was in space. He connected some of the strange things he saw with old Spanish trade routes. He thought maybe these strange things could be old shipwrecks, so he did more research. His investigation led him to many clues that supported his idea about sunken ships and the treasures they had. But eventually, time caught up with Cooper, and he got diagnosed with Parkinson's disease. He couldn't keep doing his research, so in 2004, he asked his close friend Darryl Mykosh to take over. Cooper gave Mykosh all his papers and notes before he passed away. Darryl Mykosh took on the task and got to work. He found about 150 places marked as unknown in Cooper's notes. Mykosh had a lot of experience in finding shipwrecks, so he was perfect for the job. But he needed a lot of money for this mission. That's when the Discovery Channel got involved. They agreed to make a documentary series called Cooper's Treasure. The research led to the discovery of billions of dollars worth of gold and other valuable things. They also learned a lot about history from the broken ships. Mykosh and his team made many exciting discoveries, like finding cannons from the 1700s on the ocean floor. They even found an anchor from one of Christopher Columbus's ships, which was from between 1492 and 1550. One particularly interesting find was an extraterrestrial spaceship in the Bermuda Triangle. It was huge, about 15,300 feet long. What made it even more interesting was that Cooper had marked the location as unknown in his notes. Cooper really believed in aliens, even though NASA didn't want to talk about it publicly. He said the US government had met aliens. Mikosh thinks Cooper was right about aliens, and maybe finding this unidentified underwater object could prove it.